Okay, well, it is 5:05, so we'll go ahead and get started to be mindful of your guys' time tonight. So good evening, and my name is Abby, and I'm here to walk you through the West Inner, and discuss how it may impact you and your community. If there's no questions at this time, I can go ahead and give a brief overview of the documents and open it up for discussion. But does anybody have any questions before we begin?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. So, the reason for developing the community area plans is that Charlotte has been continuously growing for decades and is projected to keep growing. In response to the projected growth, our city adopted the Charlotte Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan in 2021, which defines our 20-year vision for growth and change in Charlotte. The plan essentially calls for future growth to benefit as many people as possible. While the comprehensive plan provides the broad vision for our community, there are other levels of guidance needed to make our vision come to life. This is the planning framework adopted within the comprehensive plan, and it identifies subsequent levels of guidance needed. Level 2, strategic plans, are citywide documents that provide more detail than the comprehensive plan on a particular topic. For example, the Strategic Mobility Plan provides more guidance on how to realize Goal 5, creating safe and equitable mobility choices. Level 3 are the Community Area Plans, which provide more guidance for the appropriate land uses, building form, and infrastructure needed throughout the plan's geography. Level 4, Specific Plans, focus on smaller geographies and provide more guidance for implementation of specific projects. It is important to note that levels 2 through 4 all build upon the vision and goals outlined in the comprehensive plan. So, these plans are essentially about creating complete communities, which means that creating places that integrate housing, job opportunities, daily goods in an accessible manner. In other words, it means to live, work, and play in the environment that you live in. The community area plans were developed with a 5-phase process that occurred over 2 years. Staff has offered multiple engagement opportunities in each phase, and the outcomes of the phases have been shared along the way, which you can see here on our screen. This slide summarizes the engagement efforts from phase 1 through phase 4. We've reached over 400,000 residents, both online and in person, using a range of constant and coordinated tactics, excuse me. This includes tactics such as social media posts, our website, and all online interactive content that we produce. So those could be story maps and videos. While virtual interactions are great, we still really value the in-person interactions, and we were able to interact with over 6,000 people from phase 1 through phase 4. For this planning effort, we hosted 50 workshops in which we asked residents to join us, but also made an effort to meet people where they were by attending other meetings, festivals, and libraries. You can see the geographic dispersion of our in-person interactions on the map to the right. Throughout phase 1 through 4, we received 1,700 comments that helped to shape the draft plans. And I'd like to mention all of this engagement again builds on that feedback that we received, those 500,000 feedbacks that we received during the comprehensive plan development and the 6,000 interactions we received with the policy map. So the plans have been developed using a systematic process, meaning that they're developed in the same way and will have the same components and format within them. And while those plans are developed systematically, each plan includes both unique content that reflects the individual character of that geography, as well as some new common policy guidance that helps us to achieve our vision. These plans provide a common set of consideration for all decision makers to ensure that we're consistently evaluating options in line with the city's vision. Over time, these considerations will help to ensure growth is accommodated in a way that respects established neighborhoods, aligns growth with our infrastructure capacity, and creates vibrant and mixed use centers for all. Is the table of contents within the West Inner Community Area Plan. If you look at the other plans, you'll see it's the same contents and organization as mentioned on the last slide. I'm going to keep the table of contents up for tracking purposes. So the next chapter outlines the geography's greatest needs and priority goals. Needs are focused on increasing access to housing choices, job opportunity, daily goods and services, and reducing environmental impacts. The plans focus on these four needs because these are the metrics identified in the comprehensive plan as paramount for ensuring future growth benefits as many people as possible. The 10 comprehensive plan goals were linked to these four metrics, and if a metric scored less than 5, the associated goals were identified as priorities for the geography. While all goals are important, this provides a prioritized list that will help to prioritize those limited dollars and resources. Chapter 4 focuses on recommended development patterns for the geography, and that's via the 2040 policy map. The colors in the map relate to the types and intensities of development that is appropriate to that area. To learn more about the colors, see the place type descriptions in the appendix. The plans recommend a large portion of the geography to remain as is, meaning if redevelopment occurs in these areas, then the new development should match the scale and intensity of the development that's on the ground today. This plan recommends 37% evolve into a different type of development than what exists today. An example of anticipated change is a commercial evolving into an activity center. Commercial places are characterized by car-oriented destinations for retail, dining, or service uses, typically within low-rise buildings that are located along major streets or intersections. An example of this would be Tyvola and Memorial Parkway, as shown on page 21. This could evolve into a community activity center, which is characterized by a mix of uses: residential, employment, shopping, leisure, and entertainment. These uses are set within mid-rise buildings in a pedestrian-oriented environment. This place type would add a greater mix of uses and density to the recommended area. This change will help to accommodate our projected growth in a way that respects neighborhoods, pairs growth with infrastructure capacity, and creates mixed-use centers, which help to increase access across Charlotte. Other pages in Chapter 4 explain how the recommendations or the recommended changes help to advance the geography's priority goals and address their greatest needs. In Chapter 5, Supporting the Vision, this includes 5 sections and is reference to the Neighborhood Toolkit. The Neighborhood Toolkit is included within the appendices because it's a reference for all of the geographies. The toolkit catalogs all of the great programs that are currently available to residents to help address their needs. And the intent is that it's a resource to empower neighborhoods who want to take action. This outlines existing programs neighborhoods can tap into to monetize a common open space and create a neighborhood park, for example. The mobility section was developed in coordination with CDOT, CATS, and CRTPO. It restates that Goal 5, safe and equitable mobility, is important across Charlotte. It includes a clip of citywide street maps, which outlines future cross sections for arterial streets in Charlotte. This section summarizes the strategic mobility plan, and highlights the strategic investment areas within the geographies. Next, the mobility section includes a new level of guidance called the mobility assessment. This assessment evaluates how well our future mixed-use place types are meeting our aspirations, as outlined in the place type description. These assessments should be used by all stakeholders, residents, developers, and city officials to inform future development and infrastructure projects within these areas. For example, if a developer wants to rezone a site within one of these mixed-use locations, they should use this assessment to propose a project that improves conditions. Similarly, community members can evaluate a proposed project against this assessment to determine if the project contributes to the area's aspirations. The open space and community character chapters includes a similar assessment because open space and character are important components of the place type aspiration. For the sake of time, I won't get into those, but just wanted to highlight those additional ones, and we can navigate to them online if anybody has any questions or wants to look at them together. The next section is environmental justice and sustainability. This builds upon the comprehensive plan's vision to reduce environmental impacts across Charlotte. This section provides more detailed analysis of the environmental impacts within a plan's geography, as shown in the assessment dials on the top of the images. It also introduces heat impacts as a new environmental metric that should be considered in future decision-making processes, which you can see here on the map. Plans are implemented in multiple ways. The private and public sectors both have a role to play. Plans may be implemented through private development, private-public partnership, capital improvements, and rezonings. Community area plans are important components of the Charlotte planning framework, but they are only one tool in our toolbox. We also have specific plans in our toolbox which focus on smaller geographies and more implementation focused, and we have the ability to develop this guidance if and where needed across the city. Planning is cylindrical. We plan to monitor and update recent plans every 8 to 10 years. So the next steps for our community area plans is that the comment period closes this Friday, July 18th. On Friday, July 25th, comments and staff responses will be posted on the project website. And there will be a presentation on Monday, August 4th at the Transportation Planning and Development Committee. The council decision is currently TBD. Does anybody have any questions? I'm happy to answer accept any comments related to this. And once again, invite you to review these plans in detail and provide any comments to these plans.
Good afternoon. This is Reverend Dr. Janet Garner Mullins. I do have a listing of some questions, but I wanted to, because of the intensity of the questions and the length of those questions, I don't want it to bog down the chat with those, but they are relating to the areas that you spoke about. And so I need to find out how I can get those questions to you if you don't want me to try to put them in the chat because they are somewhat extensive.
The opportunity you would like to, on the website, we do have the ability to comment specifically if you were looking at something more, specific in the plan that you want to drop a comment on. But if you're looking for more general, we're always willing to respond via email as well. And I can actually navigate to the page if you would like me to, and I can show you where that is.
Okay, let me tell you what my questions are relating to. One is in relating to the what strategies are in place for to ensure affordable housing and low and moderate income families when these changes are put into place. There are questions about housing and affordability. There's questions about jobs and economic development. There's some questions about amenities and public spaces, since we're talking about we want people to live, work, and play where they live. And then, of course, my pet peeve is environmental justice. How's this plan addressing the environmental hazards? And so those are the questions those are the topic questions that I have. And so we can either do one of many ways that you want to address these.
Absolutely. So it definitely sounds like you have some more extensive questions. I want to offer, and I'm going to move ahead to the next slide. We do have office hours, which does give you a chance to speak with staff directly in a more I wouldn't say private setting, but in a more one-on-one kind of capacity that may be beneficial for you, especially if you want to have more of that conversation about those questions. Um, Office hours are Tuesday and Thursday, and you can sign up through our website, and that's a great opportunity. But you're also welcome to email those questions over, and we can, review them prior to the office hours if that works for you as well.
If you can send me, yes, because my schedule is really tight, and the office hours from 11 to 1 on Tuesdays and Thursdays this week is somewhat tight for me. So I would prefer if you could give me an email address, I can go ahead and drop those in an email.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on our website, and I'm going to stop sharing really quick and I'll move that back over. So this is our email. I will go ahead and put it in the chat as well, so that way you don't have to copy and paste it. But I wanted to show that we do have it on our website. So I will copy that email address and put it in our chat here in our room. And like I said, you're welcome to go ahead and send those questions over.
Okay, so CLT future 2040. That's CLT future 2040 at charlottenc.gov.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. Okay, I'll send those after this meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
of course. Did anybody else have any questions or have any comments that they'd like to share? If no one else has any questions or comments, I'll just go ahead and reiterate that the comments will be due um, this Friday, July 18th. And then the comment responses from staff will be posted on the website the following Friday. So that is Friday, July 25th. If you have any questions, feel free to visit our website. You can see the code here on this slide. I'm happy to assist anybody, but of course, you're also welcome to navigate to another room if you are looking to hear any other breakout sessions.
Is it Abby? Is it Abby?
Yes, it is Abby.
Hey,
Yes.
Abby. Hey, Kathy. Just a quick question. So once the comments are made, I know they're going to be posted on the website at some point, but will you also do an updated plan so that what's left for the public to see is an updated plan, or will it just be the plan with the amendments or the addendum of the comments that City Council adopts? How is that going to be presented in final form?
Hi, Sylvia.
Hey.
Abby, are you okay if I take this one? Or we have been tracking the changes, and those are available online right now, the proposed changes in a spreadsheet. We typically do not do second drafts for a variety of reasons. One of which is that it causes a lot of confusion. People aren't sure, do they have the most current draft? And we found that it just gets very confusing. The other thing is it would take because there's 14 documents at one time that we would be changing at one time. It is a major lift for us to produce another set of documents. Even the final documents, we won't have those probably available for 4 to 6 weeks after they're adopted. So it would really drag the process out. But the biggest reason is the confusion. So we will provide details of where the change is made, what the change will be, and in instances where it's not exactly clear, we'll provide an example, a illustrative example of what we mean by that particular change.
Okay. And so, but will there be, even if it's not something for dissemination, will there be a final document that is archived somewhere?
Yes, there will be.
Just didn't know.
Yes, there will be documents. We're working to have them designed for online format, like the current comp plan is, and then it'll also be available in the PDF format, which the comp plan is that way too. Yeah, so there's two different ways. And we can print them too. We'll probably do one printing when they're all finalized, and then we can print upon request.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Kathy. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your continued participation.
Thanks, Abby.
Of course.
This is Reverend Garner Mullins again. I do have another question. I had been approached by one of my neighbors asking a general question, which I didn't really have a total answer for, and that was, once these plans are adopted and the area plan is in place, and there is a developer in a particular neighborhood, for example, and they are getting ready to develop land in ways that would not be as advantageous or having amenities for that neighborhood. The question was, are there ways, or are these plans etched in stone, never to be replaced or never to be changed, or are there opportunities for that?
So one of the things that's really great about these small air or these community area plans is that we do have the ability to update them. I mean, these are living, breathing documents, is what we like to say. And so there will be updates to the plans periodically. I'm not sure that we'll do all 14 at the same time again, but we would have that opportunity to, review, see how the progress is coming, and kind of go back to that into the public, and hear from everyone. One of the ways, though, that we do have, you know, like you're talking about, with if there's a development that maybe is not compatible, we do have the priority goals that we will utilize when we're reviewing rezoning petitions. And we're actually encompassing that in our memos, our long range memos that are part of that staff analysis. And so we will be providing that and utilizing the community area plans as part of that rezoning process. So we will be looking to these plans to utilize. But Kathy, I saw you also come off of mute if you have anything additional to add.
Yeah, sorry, for some reason I'm having a hard time getting my microphone off, but you provided a lot of information. Thank you, Abby. But I was just going to add that we also have, as that fourth layer of guidance that we've talked about, specific plans, because we know something could be incompatible, but at the same time, something that the plan maybe didn't anticipate that could be very beneficial to the needs of a neighborhood. So specific plans will have, there'll be a menu of different options that are, these type of plans are focused on a very small geography and more focused on implementation in a shorter time frame. So that's a tool that we're working on developing right now. And that's a tool that we'll have in our toolbox as well that could help in that situation.
Thank you.
So, but Kathy, that's going to be like a special instance, right? Like that's not going to be across the board. That's going to be
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, they'll have the menu of options we had prior to the comp plan and then this work were typically like small area plans. We had another tool called developer response. That's what we called it, that focused on more of what Dr. Garner Mullins is talking about. We've broadened that menu, and I think we've talked more. Like one example would be the environmental justice action plan. We've got probably like 6 to 8 different examples or categories that we're working on now, but they each would have would be circumstance based. As you said, we're not going to just go out and start doing them. They would have to be a specific reason.
Okay.
Kathy, thanks for saying. I'm sorry, Dr. Sylvia. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's good.
Thank you for sharing that information. The other concern that some neighbors have expressed to me, and that is accountability. What if we have these plans in place and we have the playbooks and we have all the checks and balances, and the plan is made available to a particular developer as he or she is putting together their development, and they're just totally off the radar with what they're doing? What type of accountability, what type of checks and balances that are in place so that if developer A is putting a horse farm on land that we know that don't supposed to be there, how is the city going to be making that person accountable, making that developer accountable for what they're doing?
Right. Well, as Abby mentioned, a big piece of all of this work or an outcome of this work is the enhancements to the staff analysis that will go to City Council. But ultimately, it will be a City Council decision. So as staff, we provide all of the information and our professional judgment, and we use the plans. But ultimately, it will be a council decision, same as it is today.
Thanks you all so much. I'm going to jump in another session and just listen in. Appreciate it. Kathy, I know I owe you and Catherine some comments. So we're still working on ours, and we'll make sure we have ours in by the 18th.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sylvia.
Thank you all so much.
Hello. How are you doing this evening?
Well, and yourself?
Doing well. Would you like me to go through the whole presentation, or did you have something specific in mind that you wanted to discuss?
No, you can go. You can go through, and there's I know it's only like 24 minutes, but we can still 20 minutes. We can still, yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me. So I'm going to walk you through how the West Inner and how it may impact you and your community. So I'll go ahead and get started. Okay. So the reason for developing the community area plans is that Charlotte has been continuously growing for decades and is projected to keep growing. In response to the projected growth, our city adopted the Charlotte Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan in 2021, which defines our 20-year vision for growth and change in Charlotte. The plan essentially calls for future growth to benefit as many people as possible.
Okay, you can. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry?
you can fast that portion. I've already heard in other seminars, so I know that part.
You
So
probably
let's
heard
get to yeah.
the same thing. I can jump to the West Inner, but again, it's going to still be pretty
Yeah, let's.
general in terms of that.
Can
If
we
you
go
had
to the community?
Mhm. Community
community area
needs?
plan. The community needs identified as okay.
Yeah.
So the priorities are based on the highest number scored, right? So access to jobs is the very first, and then next is access to amenities, and then access to housing and environmental justice are tied for third place. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Hear me now?
I hear you now.
Higher
Nope.
this. Nope.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. The higher the score, it actually means that that is doing well. So in this case, the priority scores are access to housing and environmental justice. So those are tied for kind of first priority. In this case, we've identified environmental justice as being the top priority for this area, and then housing. And since they access to jobs and access to amenities are above um, uh, the identified need, basically, it is not considered a priority because it's already met to a certain degree.
Okay, so what are some of the things that they're considering for environmental justice? Can we see that map of what they're?
Absolutely. Okay, so environmental justice, we have the urban heat map on our presentation, but I'd be happy to jump into the actual West Inner plans if you're looking for a different map.
No, so I see the heat intense locations are
Mhm.
marked in the red, right?
That is correct.
What is the West Inner compared to the rest of the city? Because we're talking about equity, right? Because this
Mhm.
is my whole issue with equity. If you identify in the other three areas that they have a low red dimension of area, then how do we bring West Charlotte to an equitable amount of less red areas like the other communities
Got
within the east, the south, and the north?
So one of the ways that we're looking to kind of create the community area plans exactly how you're saying is by utilizing them in the rezoning process. So when we're looking at a petition that's coming through, we're going to look at it from the standpoint of the community area plan, and we're going to look at this section and look at those priority goals. And we're going to and I'm going to make sure that I have this pulled up here. And I apologize, I have too many screens up. So the idea is that with the rezoning, we're going to review how that petition fits in with this character, with the existing environmental impacts. Is it going to positively or negatively impact that? And that's part of that
So,
review that's ultimately up to council to decide.
okay. So currently, what you're saying is that the 2040 plan rezoning is the linchpin that we hope to utilize for providing urban equity.
This is just one of the tools in our toolboxes. So this is just one example of how we would be utilizing the community area plans in a more specific capacity, such as the environmental justice component.
Okay. So how are you creating a complete community utilizing? Because if our priority is urban justice, but we're dependent upon the rezoning practice to create that urban justice, there's already we're already still behind the eight ball.
Well, so again, that's just one example of the tool. When I look at, and I'm going to open up my book, I'm happy to navigate as well online. So we're looking at the same thing. But we also have the environmental justice recommendation. So I'll go ahead and pull that up. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to navigate to page 62. Okay. So, some of the ways that we're looking at this is by utilizing these new policies. So this is really building on the comprehensive plan policies. So that, like I said, that's just one example. But the idea here is that if we're looking at this and we're looking to reduce brown sites and hazardous sites under EJ8, we're looking at the policy map and when we're approving new land uses, where you can look at it from another vantage point of funding opportunity, right? So EJ5 to help mitigate water pollutants in surface waters, to continue to prioritize educational outreach that's regarding those pollution sources. So there are a variety of different ways that we can implement or, encourage this policy that's not just specific to the rezoning process. These are just some of the ways that we can do that.
Well, that's one of the things I'm considering. So we have a water treatment center on West Tyvola, which is near the new VA and the new housing, the new apartment complex that they put on Old Steel on West Tyvola, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Our environment is already impacted by city decisions to put things in our community that they weren't allowed to put in other communities. So that's my concern is that we're relying on a process where you took and put things that the South, the East, and the North would not permit because we're not a very vocal community. I see I'm one of two people in the room, right? And my concern is that because we are less vocal or our voices are not as prevalent, is as if we're being taken advantage of and then saying smile and take it. And it's okay because we're going to try to utilize the city plan process that builders and investors do not pay attention to use as the linchpin to provide something the community has asked for.
And I definitely understand your frustration. I don't want to diminish that. And like I said, I am writing down your comment here. And I understand that frustration. In and I'm just going to write down the and it was a water treatment plant. Is that correct? I just want to make
Yes, we
sure I'm
have a
writing
water
it down.
treatment facility plant. We are inundated with electrical wire lines that are covered by trees, just massive trees everywhere. Um, One of our power outlets for the community is on such a street that it's already been knocked out twice in the past 3 years simply because a car accident um, impacted that particular electrical location. So once again, I'm trying to understand if we are not identifying the problems that we currently have and resolving them, all we're doing is exacerbating the problem if we're just kicking the ball down the road.
And I understand that. And I think an opportunity maybe, and again, for this area could be more specific, like a strategic, or excuse me, a special. And hold on, I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint. I apologize. I am
That's okay.
mixing my words.
No, no, you're
Um,
fine.
so let me pull that back up for you. So we have. Okay, so yeah, the specific area plans may be an opportunity that get a little in nature more specific, right? So if you're talking about the environmental justice in a very particular place, that could be a qualifier then for doing a specific plan so that there is um, more. I understand that the cap is
It meets the concerns of the community. Got you.
exactly, yes, yes, it's
So
more specific to that.
yeah, it's specific to the community needs. So if
Yes.
I needed, so what I would need to do is I need to read up on how to request a special plan a specific plan
Yes. So that
for
we're actually coming up with that criteria during this process. And so that way there would be that criteria that you're able to apply for. So that is definitely something that's going to come out of this process. So it's not available online right now, but that would be in the future.
okay. Yeah, because my concern is I look at the
Hmm.
community area plan and I'm like, it seems to me like they're kicking our problem down the street while they're resolving the issues in the south, the north, and the east,
Hmm.
and we're just left to suffer because we have the airport, which there's not much we can do about that, and we have this water treatment center, which we can't do much about that because once again there was no other area in the city willing to accept it, and so because the West was not advocating for its safety as well as others, we now have the resources that could cause the most harm to community.
Yes, and like I said, that's definitely we can see that in that priority goal being environmental justice as the first one. Um,
Okay.
I did also want to mention you did mention that there's only a few of us in this room. We did have others join, but they did filter out as well. And I see that we do have Cynthia here as well. Did you have any questions or comments or anything that you would like to discuss? We only have 7 minutes, so I want to make sure I touch base with you.
I'm good. I left
Okay.
my office. That's why I came off and came back home to get back
Okay.
on the call. But one question I would like to ask, I know that they're changing the zoning of the properties along from the map you showed along the Wilkinson Boulevard. I'm looking at that area where actually a project is happening. That's actually already zone CG um, and OFC. How can one that's knowing that that can be done, do I need to go through rezoning or how is that going to be implemented?
So I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Are you saying that it is currently going to stay CG? I guess that's where my question is.
I think the changing to the CAC will be a lot more beneficial
Oh,
than
okay.
having two different zonings in that area. Um, how would the city planning or zoning be able to um, change that zoning, or would I have to be putting in for that zoning, knowing that it's already adopted, possibly to be changed that way? What are your comments on that?
Have the opportunity to comment on the policy map itself. So that is part of this process is the revised policy map.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to drop a pin um, directly on the parcel or parcels that you're looking at that you think maybe it is misaligned, or that if you feel strongly and you provide that comment, so you can actually drop it directly on those parcels. That's one way for us to review and kind of see what the community is looking at. That's not necessarily 100% that is going to be, changed and adopted. But it does call us to look at that area, see what we have going on, that living in the area really have a good understanding of. That's one way. Now, if you wanted to change the place type and the zoning on the property, let's say, you want to purchase a whole area, it would be through the rezoning process that you would do a zoning or a place type change. And so that is an opportunity there if that was something that you wanted.
Okay, okay. I'll look into that.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's all my questions.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mr. Combs, did you have anything else? I don't want to leave you out in case you have anything else.
No, like I said, the issues that I have will have to be taken up in specific, and until you adopt practices for accepting specific, then I'm really at a standstill because there's nothing that you can do to change what you've already created. The nightmare's already started.
Wow. That's very interesting, Garrick.
What do you mean?
I'm just saying that's interesting to know what's happening in that area.
Well, as you say, you're trying to convert a CG spot, which is
Hmm.
commercial general, to a community activity center, right?
Correct. Right.
Um, but is that placement of that community activity center along the public transit lines, or
Yes.
is it in an area where the public transit lines you have to walk a great distance to get there?
No, it's kind of like right across from where the new Link Civil Line is coming. I'm right across from.
Right, I'll probably be dead before that silver line comes through.
I know,
So
right, right. At least we try. But that's where it's located. It is in a walkable area.
Hi, Robin. Did you have any comments or questions? We've got about 2 minutes left, so I just wanted to touch base.
No, Abby, thank you. I was just hopping over from another room and just curious what was happening here. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. And Mr. Combs, to your point, as part of the review process for any place type change, the rezoning place type change, zoning map changes, that is also, we're looking at the minor map amendment criteria, which is in the appendix of the community area plans that does have a little bit more guidance about when a place type should change from one to the other. So we do have that, which talks about, transit, acreage, streets, a number of things.
yes, but I don't get the zoning letters for areas that are not in my zone. So I would have to literally watch the zoning list to determine, what impacts it's having within the west inner corridor, right? I live on a particular area, so I only
Mhm.
receive the zoning plans that affect my particular area. That is the main reason why, I have such a issue with this is because you're allowing individual portions of the city to make their own decisions on what they're doing, but they don't realize the impact they're having overall. And that's my issue with the rezoning process is that you are not taking into account that the requests that are being made impact the long-term area, and it's a negative impact over time, not a positive.
All right, we have one more member that joined us. We're about to switch over to a different geography. Did you have any comments before we switch?
No, I'm actually here for Southwest Middle.
Okay,
Thank
wonderful.
you.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I will get us ready for the next presentation and give everybody just a minute or two to join. And thank you for your comment. Mr. Combs, I did write that down as well.
Thank you.